Here's a quick overview of the spreadsheet that you are getting. You might want to do a search on Google or YouTube for information on how to accomplish a cove cut. But when you open the spreadsheet, you will see two helpful graphics. The photo from above, and you will notice that I'm using two rails, which is much safer. Just make sure to test that the wood can travel freely from one side to the other without getting pinched by the wood, make them really parallel. Then you want to make sure that you sit the fence to touch this wood and make a measurement from where they meet to a reference point that creates a straight line to the wood. So for instance, in my case, it's to the bottom of the table or to the other side of the table. And that allows me to measure from here to here. That's my fence length. And the table will calculate for you what is the fence offset in order to reach the angle that you need in order to create the cove cut. So the other parameters you need to know are how deep you want the cove. This is essentially how far up you're going to push your your saw blade, because obviously this is for convenience. When you are cutting, this piece of wood is flipped over so that the saw is cutting the cove through. The cove width is how wide you want the cove to be, and the angle that you set it is going to determine the width. Just notice that you're not going to get a perfect circle. The narrower you are, the more concave you're going to get of a shape. So if you want to get closer to a circle, you're going to have to start using smaller blades for smaller cove widths. And for the setup, put in the diameter of your saw. In the US, most saw blades are 10 inches, so that's 254 millimeters. By the way, I gave you a little calculator here that you can use, so you can put in, how much is 12 inches, that's 304, 305 millimeters. So, but this is just a calculator. This doesn't affect anything. The kerf size is how thick your blade is. I'm using a thin kerf blade, which is 2.5 millimeters or 6/61 or something close to that. And then the fence length is that measurement that we took from the top to the bottom. And then to generate the table, this will allow you to create a table with multiple entries. So the widths that you want, and if you know they're going to go no more than 50 millimeters wide, then you can decide how many steps you want to be able to see, so that you can see measurements. In my case, the cove width, is starting at 5 and in steps of 3. The first value is dependent on the width, the kerf of your blades, because obviously you can't make a cove width that's narrower than that. So it will round it up and add up your step size in order to figure out the starting point, then give you a bunch of values. The cove depth is same thing, how deep you want to start seeing the values, and then it go in increments. And the neat thing here is that the macros will reconfigure your print layout. Right now you notice that it's showing a particular range selection for the printing, but once you make a change, let's say I make a change to 2 steps of 2, you'll notice that it'll automatically reselect the print range, so that when I try to print, Control P, it will print the entire area of the table without any extraneous spaces. Similarly, if I make the table smaller because I increase the step sizes to 3 here and 3 there, you notice that the selection is smaller, and when you print, you're really going to have 2 pages. Now, in terms of how to read the table, if you look at a particular area, let's say that we want to create a cove depth of 27 millimeters, and we want to generate a cove width of 35 millimeters, then the intersection shows us that the fence offset is 149. That means that you need to position the wood such that with the length being 700 millimeters, you will measure 149 millimeters from the fence to this point on the wood to generate the proper angle, which will give you the cove width that you wanted, which in our case again was 35 millimeters. And then what you need to do is take passes, make sure that you start from, you do not take more than 1/8 of an inch each time. So raise your blade until you reach the cove depth of 27. You might want to draw this to draw a mark on your piece of wood so that you know when to stop increasing the blade height. Another point that's important is that once the angle calculation is over 30 degrees, seeing a measurement, you will see the value. You can just use Google in order to align works properly. Those are highlighted in blue just to stand out so you know that's about it. I hope you have a fun time with this. Hopefully you all see